What's approaching the supreme moment? Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead.
What's good? So, off the Super Saiyan Broly banner from the Dragon Ball Super movie, I could not stop pulling this guy. So, I'm able to Rainbow, which is what it is right now. I did focus on criticals more than the additional attack, even though he has a nuking passive, and I'll go into the reasonings as to why. But let's go ahead and cover the stats a little bit. This unit is, it's almost like a love-hate relationship. A lot of people tend to not like this unit because of that defense-reducing passive, and we'll cover that here in a second. But let's talk about the stats for this unit. Leader skill is Extreme TEQ type, plus 3 key HP attack and defense, increase of 120%. And for Super TEQ type, plus 1 key HP attack and defense, increase of 50%. The super attack will cause immense damage to the enemy and also greatly lowers defense. This is where it gets interesting. The passive skill is attack increase of 100% and attack increase of 12% of defense minus 10% per key sphere collected. So this is why a lot of people dislike this unit, because depending on how much key you collect, the defense could actually drop all the way down to 0. So a little bit of a liability issue there, kind of almost like a glass cannon in a way, but that tends to be why people dislike this unit. Link skills include Saiyan Lineage, that's plus 1 key. Berserker is 20% increase to attack when HP is 50% or below. Prepared for battle is plus 2 key. Super Saiyan, 10% increase to attack. Nightmare is 10% increase to attack. Limit Breaking Form is attack increase of 2000 when SA is launched. Fierce Battle is 15% increase to attack. This guy does fall into 2 categories, Super Saiyan 3, which is what you're seeing right now, and also the Pure Saiyans. So again, at 100% potential, you're looking at HP of 14,850, attack of 16,700, and defense is 9,875, 12 Ki Multipliers, 150%. I mean, this unit is a very, very powerful unit, and it really comes down to how you actually use this unit. And here's my take on this. The reason why I went with level 9 and level 17 criticals is I'm not going to really focus on collecting as much key as I can. As you can see, defense is pretty much 0 depending on how much key you collect. So definitely makes that a very, very big liability issue, like this rotation where all the attacks are coming. I kind of put him there purposely to see what his defense levels are. But attack output, I mean, you're looking at 3 million in potential, and this is the newest Dokkan event. He doesn't get the category or stage bonus where movie bosses get an extra, damage increase or whatever, because he's not on the category. But, attack stat potential wise, this guy's pretty phenomenal. It's just that defense is a liability. So here's the reason why I went with level 9 additional attack and level 17 for criticals, even though, you can increase the attack by 12% for every key collected. I went with this because I intentionally am not going to collect as much key. I'm only going to take enough in to where he can get a super attack. So I'm going to take advantage of the 100% increase attack, but not so much for the attack 12% increase per key collected. So for me to maximize this guy's potential with that, I went more with the focus on critical hits at level 17 and potentially an additional attack with level 9. Even with level 9 criticals, this unit, or any unit with that potential level skill set, tends to do an additional super attack frequently enough to where it's somewhat beneficial to have that set up. So that's really the reason why. I mean, you could certainly go the inverted option where you go more of a focus on additional attack and slightly less on criticals, just to take the full advantage of the passive skill where he's got both attack increase and then a defense drop. Again, it's really going to be dependent on, the rotation itself, where the attacks are incoming, all that crap. So, again, it all comes down to how you play the unit. I know this guy is disliked by a lot of people because of that 10% decrease to defense for every key collected. But essentially, if you only collect a couple of key, you're really only looking at maybe 30 to 40%. 36% is probably with 3 key collected. Now, with 4 key, it's about 48%. Even the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, the physical version, you're looking at a 40% defense drop when SA activates. So even for that unit, it's still a very good unit in my opinion. So, if you, it all comes down to moderation, I think. You're still going to get the 100% increased attack as the first set of the passive. Now, anything, let's say you collect 4 or 5 key, right? 4 key, is going to be a 48% increase to attack. In addition to that, that's already close to 150%. And by compromising 48% to defense, obviously because of that defense drop, but I think it all comes down to moderation and just trying to figure out an overall balance as to maximizing this guy's potential without risking too much with the defensive side. I mean, that's my take on it, and that's honestly how I would run this unit if I were to run it frequently. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I have much better units than this, and even though he hits for a pretty good amount, I would never use this guy on events like Battle Road and whatever. I'll probably run him as a leader or secondary lead for Battlefield because he's got the Extreme TEQ 120% lead, so certainly could do that with that setup. But I mean, this guy isn't bad. He really isn't. It's just the fact that I think people tend to force maximizing his secondary passive of getting that 12% increase per key collected, and run into defensive issues because of that. Because honestly, the way I'm playing it right now, yeah, you're still seeing a defensive drop, and he still gets hit for a pretty decent amount because you're still looking at anywhere from 36 to 48%, if not more, in a defensive percent drop. But it's still a hell of a lot better than collecting, like, I don't know, 8 to 12 plus in key, you know what I mean? So it's a lot better than getting defense down to 0. I mean, that's probably the best way to put it. So again, it's definitely liability issues. It's a little bit of a compromise between attack and defense. I think you just have to find that sweet spot and figure out what's the best spot for him in terms of attacking potential and the maximum amount you're willing to reduce the defense by. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And yeah, I mean, this guy can be ran on a lot of teams. Even though he only falls into the Super Saiyan 3 and Pure Saiyans, I tested him out, and you'll see this variation coming up. But I ran him on an extreme type team, and just brought in units that I would normally use, right? But they would also have supporting type passives, to where it would actually offset some of the defensive drops for Broly. So, I mean, if you plan on using it that way, you're going to offset a lot of the defense decreases. So you have a little bit more leeway in terms of collecting more ki. The problem with the Super Saiyan 3 category is there's not really that many units that provide a defensive boost. Bardock would have if Broly was a super type. Unfortunately, he's an extreme type, so he doesn't get that increase. The Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku, the Grade 8 version, only provides a 33% increase to attack. I don't think there's that many units within the applicable selection process where you have an option to include units that provide a defensive increase. Even within super intelligence type, there's very few units that actually provide a decent enough defensive increase to where it's going to be beneficial to actually include that unit on a Super Saiyan 3 team. That's just my opinion from what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong. If there are units that would definitely help out the unit a lot, definitely make sure to leave a comment on that. So let's see. I mean, he's consistently going to be able to hit anywhere between 1.8 to 2.5 million plus. I mean, attack-wise, this guy's very good. Even if you don't take advantage of the secondary passive, you're still going to get a 100% increase to attack. So it's definitely going to be pretty good overall. It's just a matter of, how much damage is he willing to take. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, you could pretty much, take care of business and collect a lot of ki and just maximize that attack and then annihilate the enemy before it even has a chance to attack. But, given the situations with, like, the newer Dokkan events and even Battlefield or Battle Road, the chances of one-shotting an enemy is going to be somewhat limited. So I wouldn't really be too dependent on that, you know what I mean? But he definitely does have the potential to hit for a decent amount at the end of the day. and he is also an Extreme TEQ lead, so he's a worthwhile unit enough for that regard. You know, for Battlefield, it could definitely be a lot of help. You know, you could run this guy as lead and then bring in a secondary leader like transforming Frieza for the 120% for all extreme types, or even Goku Black for the 90%. You know, it's all dependent on what you have, I guess, but. So we switched things up like I was talking about. This is the extreme type team, and then it's pretty much a double Rose lead. The reason why I wanted to run that setup instead of the Frieza units is because Rose does provide a 50% increase to defense for extreme type allies, and also a 20% reduction to attack and defense for super type enemies. So along with that, you also get a +3 Ki boost. So you know, having him in the rotation definitely helps. Kid Buu also does provide 50% increase to both attack and defense, as well as a Ki boost. You're looking at 30% increase to attack and defense if HP is below 80%. So even then, you still get a decent percent boost toward defense. The Turles unit, before the transformation, you still get a 40% increase to attack. Not really a defensive boost, whatever, but you do get a Ki boost at least. So like you get all these types of helps from other units to offset, you know, some of that defensive liability that Super Saiyan 3 Broly brings to the table. So there are ways to counter all this, you know, the negative effects of the card itself. And this team is certainly a pretty good team. It's not the best because it's we're talking about 120% leads, but at the end of the day, these units can be pretty good. So it really just comes down to how you actually use the unit. Alright, so that's pretty much the showcase. So like I was saying, it's definitely a little bit limited on the Super Saiyan 3 team, but even with this type of team setup with the extreme types, you can bring in a bunch of defensive type passive supports where, again, you could counteract the negative impact that Broly brings to the table. I'm assuming the Pure Saiyans category will probably work even better because you do have more options within that. So for those that run the Super Saiyan 3 Broly on the Pure Saiyans team, definitely let me know how you actually utilize the unit to its full potential. But again, I mean, as long as you counteract some of the stuff with the passives and support from different units, you're not going to run into that much of an issue. It'll still be a minor issue, but it's not going to be to the extent of what people make it out to be, honestly. Like, as long as you play it, you know, a little bit, I wouldn't say cautiously, but just in moderation, you know. Don't overkill it with the Ki collecting, you know, and just collect enough to get a super attack, you know, get a couple of that 12% increases, you know, per Ki, and, you know, tack it on to that 100% increase to attack, and then you'll at least only have like a 40, 50, maybe 60% reduction in defense, which is still a pretty big amount. But if you think about it, if you have, you know, Rose unit, that's a 50% defensive increase for allies. So you're only going to net like a 10% decrease to defense. So depending on how the rotation is, you could have, you know, someone like Rose and then Kid Buu. I mean, one brings 50%, the other brings another 50% or 30% at the least. That's 80 to 100% increase, or 70 to 100% increase to defense. Now, you could certainly collect more Ki in that case and keep it neutral, where it's going to be a 0% benefit to defense overall. I mean, that's better than having a severe handicap of the defense dropping all the way down to 0. You know what I mean? So there are ways to kind of play this guy out in a more conservative way, I guess, but I don't know, some people just want to go ham, I guess. You know, they want to collect as much Ki as they can, bring in some orb changers, and collect a shit ton of Ki, get that full 12% increase per attack per Ki collected. I mean, if you collect 10 Ki, that's 12%. You know, 12 times 10 is 120%. Tack on that 100%, you're looking at 220% increase in attack for that super. You know, so it's it definitely adds up like quite a bit, but it's all dependent on how you want to play the unit, you know what I mean? Like, this guy can hit very, very hard, but at the same time, he's definitely going to be a liability, too, if you're not careful. I mean, you could easily get, you know, supered and, you know, KO'd if you're not careful about it, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'll test this guy on Battle Road and see how he is, but I don't know. I feel like he's going to take a pretty decent amount of hits, honestly. But you know, he is a little bit necessary for the Extreme TEQ 120% lead if you don't have other options. So, you know, it might be worthwhile to test it. I don't know. I might test it on like a Super Saiyan 3 category team, or maybe like an Extreme type team. I don't know. We'll figure that out. So, again, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. This is a little bit longer than normal just because I wanted to cover more stuff, you know, with team setup variations and just kind of show off as many attacks as I could have. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.